Thank you for tuning into another episode of She Laughs, a podcast dedicated to bringing you honest and transparent viewpoints in this daily faith journey. Now join with me as we listen to T and Kristal discuss the latest.
Hey everyone, it's your girl Kristal.
Hey everybody, it's Tanisha.
And welcome to another episode of She Laughs. Welcome back, everybody, everyone. This week we're in another week of quarantine, and so Tanisha and I, of course, decided to have some of our friends on the podcast.
Yes.
So guys, we're gonna go around Robin and introduce ourselves. So Heather, let's start with you.
Okay, you guys. So it is Heather. I go by Hey Heather May, and that's it.
Awesome. Next up, we have the amazing Erik Moore.
Hey, it's Erik. I go by Erik Moore.
What more can you say?
What more can you say? There's so many puns you can have off more, but hey, I'm not going to go there today.
And last but not least, the lovely Miss Danielle.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Danielle. I go by Danielle or Danny or Danielle, however the spirit moves you.
Awesome. So, guys, how have y'all been doing this week in quarantine? How's everybody?
Who wants to go
pretty
first?
Good over here.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm pretty okay. I think now we've kind of like settled into that part of quarantine where you're just like, all right, whatever happens, but I know I still have to go with the flow.
Right.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm still on the up and up. I think I've been at the same tone and tempo this whole thing. It's just played in my favor, so I just been riding the wave. So it's good. I like that the pace of a lot of things has slowed down, so I'm chilling.
I agree. That pace has definitely slowed down.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So this is Danny. Things have been going pretty well for me. I was working as a frontliner. I was seeing patients in the clinic. The clinic has gone through some changes. They had to bring in more family practice providers to see more of the sick patients. So they took all of the behavioral health providers out of the clinic and put us in home to work. So I'm seeing my patients virtually, which has been interesting. It's cool because I really don't see the need to ever go back to the office now. But it's also interesting because, I have 2 daughters and a dog now. We got a dog during quarantine, and they like to, he's a cutie, and they like to bust in on my sessions. I don't know if y'all heard in the background, but both of my daughters and the dog just bust in behind me. So, yes, that's what we're dealing with. But I'm just trying to keep myself motivated, just trying to keep my energy levels up. I did find myself kind of hitting a wall last week. So what I did was kind of restructured my entire day today. I'm waking up earlier to add in more time for prayer and exercising. I added in me time, I added in family time, and I added in time with the spouse so that everyone's needs are being taken care of. So,
good.
That's where I
That's
am.
really dope.
Wow, somebody's a planner.
I'm trying to be.
My God, let me get my life together.
You went from the laissez-faire to like the super planner, right?
I'm over here like, I'm just going with the flow. Yeah,
it's either that or chaos. So
I got you.
Well, I say this week has definitely been going good. Guys, it feels like I'm super busy, and I was originally going with the flow, but I'm ended up being like you, Danielle. I've got to add structure to my day, or nothing gets done. So I'll literally, now the show is Supernatural, so I'll literally end up watching like 10 episodes of Supernatural.
Yep.
Instead of doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing. So
my patients call that something. They call that couch lock, where you get locked on the couch. And don't do anything. That's what my patient called. I said, I like that. I'm gonna use that. So couch lock.
Yeah, like unlock myself from the couch.
Yes.
But this week I've been busy. I've been taking a lot of different classes. We've got School of the Prophetic with Apostle John McKinney, who's also been a guest on the show. We've got Evolutionary Leadership with Dr. Matthew Stevenson. Dream Again challenge with Apostle John Eckhart, and then my own personal goals. And I'm like, Lord, I feel busier now in quarantine
My
than I was
God.
Right.
outside of
Yep.
quarantine.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's
Restructuring.
yeah, it's definitely been good to me. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And T, what you got over there?
Oh, I'm good. Good. I had a good week. Anxiety has been very low. I had a little bit of a stumble over the weekend, but it wasn't that bad, so I was able to get right back on track. Been busy as well. A lot of reading, a lot of studying, taking the same classes you're taking. One extra one I'm taking is a worship class that Chandler Moore is doing.
Nice.
So, taking up the opportunity to expound on not only my spiritual gifting, but my profession. So, I've been taking some color classes online as well.
Very
So,
nice.
it's a lot,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm not doing anything else during the day. So, it keeps me from having that couch
That couch lock. That
grab.
couch
Yes.
lock.
Yes. So, yeah, because that's all I'm really
It's a
doing. And
condition.
if I
It's
have
a
Right.
real
I
condition.
try.
Right. And she's giving me
Exactly.
language to it.
Right.
Now I know what's wrong with my life.
Because now
Couch
I'm and look, and I'm sitting here like, well, I don't even have a long couch, but I do have a spot. I my little spot.
Love it.
Oh
So that's it.
man, nice, nice. Well, glad to see everyone is doing fine. So, guys, quotables. It's that time. What have you seen on the internet, whether it's funny or inspirational? Because you know the internet interwebs always got something to say.
Always undefeated.
Always undefeated. They always
Always.
got.
Mm-hmm.
So, has anyone got something this week?
I have something.
Come on.
So, okay, it's kind of corny, but I definitely got a good little chuckle out of it because I appreciate some good humor. Okay, so um, basically, it's a meme, and it's saying if a fart can make it through two tight butt cheeks and drawers and jeans,
I've seen that one.
then ain't no way the virus is not going to get through your little cheap mask.
Lord.
Oh wow. Oh
I
wow.
chuckled. I chuckled. I was like, "Ooh, they right
That's correct. That is correct.
Oh,
right." I thought it was funny.
No, that is hilarious.
That is funny.
You got to have a little humor
make
in
you
times like this, you
reevaluate.
know?
Like, are these masks really working?
Right.
I
Right.
don't think so because it wasn't like a meme like that, but it was just a video and someone had on like the real N95 mask and they tried to blow out a candle and it didn't go anywhere and then they passed it to someone with a cloth mask and the
Mm-hmm.
candle went straight out and I was
I
like,
saw
you
that.
know,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep. That's a
right.
perfect illustration right there. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like
It
if
was
you're
meant to
wearing,
be serious, but I laughed. I'm sorry. I'm a goofball.
I mean, like the mask, basically, if you can't breathe in it, then that means it's working. But that was my little funny quotable I saw. I got a good little chuckle. I need, humor makes the world go round, especially in
It
times like this.
does.
Yes, yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. So I have one, and I don't know if any of you follow Kevin on Stage. It's not necessarily a quotable, but if anybody has followed Kevin on Stage
Oh
and
Lord.
seen his post of the lady talking about you can't be Christian and a clown.
Oh,
I didn't see that one.
I did
Uh-uh.
see it.
I
I
ain't seen that
did
one.
see it. I did see it.
And so now Kevin on Stage has made a shirt
Oh my gosh,
Cause
he's so
you
extra. I
gotta
love
strike the iron while it's hot.
of a daggone beard and then a clown nose on the shirt.
Oh my
Oh wow.
God, he's so goofy.
Oh, and basically She's rebuking Kev on stage
Oh
for
gosh.
for being a lover of Christ
being a
and
and a comedian.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, and he
Mm,
done
and
turned
I
it
just
into
think it's so funny. I mean, at this point, I'm like, people, it is okay to laugh.
It really is.
exactly. Laughter is good medicine.
right.
Yes,
Oh
and
Lord.
everything. But I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was gonna be done with Kev just doing a little video about it, and then he came out with the shirts, and I said, if I don't buy nothing else in this season, Lord, I'm buying that shirt.
I'm trying to look it up right now. It's that bad. Cause I kid you not, I need at least 17 chuckles a day.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I see the shirt.
Oh my gosh. I gotta
Oh
find this
my God.
shirt.
It says Christian clown. I'm not doing it.
I'm about to Google it
Yes.
right now. Christian clown shirt.
Oh my
Christian
God.
clown shirt.
He said, say I won't drop this right now.
I'm telling you, I need him to drop that merch. I need him to drop that
I
merch
don't
because
see
I promise
it.
you, I will have it.
It's
I mean, I love the Lord, but the Lord gave us laughter, and I am going to laugh in this season. You hear me?
oh my God. Danny, go to his
I
IG
can't
page.
find it.
It's
Okay.
on his IG page. It's clear as day. You know?
Okay. Okay. Child, let me go.
Jeez.
Yo.
Let me see what he doing.
So what took me out on the actual post he made is when at the end he was like, "You're right," and he popped up in that clown suit.
Clown suit?
Yes,
Yes.
took me out.
Wait. He got the crosses for the eyes.
Right?
Yes.
Play
Wait.
too much. Play too much.
Oh my gosh.
So this one
Wow,
kind of puts
yeah.
me in the mind of it's not from this week. It was actually from a couple of weeks ago with the verses live stream battles, and it's not to be the Teddy Riley. And I just like, bruh, I can't.
Mm.
We were always like, you're doing too much, but we never had a metric for what is too much. And so now we have that, and it's like, don't be the Teddy Riley of your job. Like, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just don't be the
Yes.
Teddy Riley. Shout out to him. I love him in his music, but he finally gave us a metric. I could just see how far that'll go. But like, he was doing a Teddy, but not like a Teddy. He was just
The
like
full
doing
Riley,
Teddy.
girl. The full
Like
Riley.
he
I
was
can
like
see
the
that.
full Riley.
He was doing the
But did
full
y'all
rally.
see Nelly versus Ludacris and they started calling him Nelly Riley? I know I did.
Yes,
I sure did.
Yes.
I hashtagged it and
Nelly
everything.
Riley.
I
See,
sure
that's what I'm
did.
saying. Like, oh,
Oh my gosh.
Father God.
Mm,
Lord,
mm, mm, mm.
Lord, the laughter is flowing, and I'm gonna give one last more. Did y'all see I Will Johnson talking about the prophet?
Wait. Did you send me
Oh,
that
that
one?
video.
Yes. He said, I
Eee!
see you in a house, and there's a bathroom right around the corner. Blessed Lord.
What?
Yes,
That one was funny.
I didn't see that one.
I saw that one.
Heather, I'm gonna send
That
it.
was hilarious, actually.
I'm gonna send it to you because he made the man fall out. Do I know you? But you think about it in this, especially these last years, there's a lot of prophets that you like. What you prophesying is for everybody. That ain't nothing.
My favorite, I don't know who this is for. It's for everybody.
There you have it.
It is a blanket
Yeah.
prophecy. I don't know who this is for, but you need to take the dishes out the dishwasher right now. Do you know what? Man of God, that is for me.
I got dishes in my sink
Right now.
right now.
Let me stop. I'm not gonna be petty this early. Okay, let's go. The sun is still up. Let's go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh Lord,
Oh
thank you
man.
God. Plus, we got plenty of a topic to talk about to be petty. So there you have it with this insecure. So with that, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get on into our subject matter.
Yes.
And this week we are talking, guys, about insecure Molly and Issa's friendship. And whew, I mean, I don't know if y'all have watched the last two episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you didn't watch last night's, just the last week's episode alone was a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just start off like, what is everybody's thoughts and just feelings on seeing a friendship who just a couple of seasons ago, they're only 4 seasons in, but when they started in season 1, everybody wanted an Issa and Molly friendship. You know, they were
Right.
squad goals, and now we're seeing the cracks in that squad. So it's kind of like, what are we thinking? What are we feeling?
I'll go. I like you said, Chris. I find it funny that not too long ago they were the goal, and now immediately they're toxic.
Yeah,
Like that's all you see on social media. How Molly is toxic or Issa is lazy, and I find it funny how quick it flipped and how quick we are to um talk about the person's shortcomings. But that's how it is in any friendship. You're gonna be friends with somebody that has shortcomings. So the question is, can you move past those shortcomings and still be friends with them? Or are you going to judge them based on those shortcomings? And it seems like we're quick to judge them based on those shortcomings because even in their friendship, they're judging each other
yeah,
based on shortcomings. And they're deciding things and having conversations based off those judgments. And we're quick to do that to people instead of accepting that they have a shortcoming and finding a way to move past it without forcing them to fix it because it's an inconvenience to us.
Yikes.
That's what we want. That's what we would
Mm-hmm.
rather them do. You talk too much. You're too gossipy.
Mm-hmm.
You're too messy. I'm tired of hearing
Mm-hmm.
that. Fix it because it
Mm-hmm.
inconvenienced me.
yes.
Instead of going, I know this person is this way, so I avoid certain conversations around
Mm-hmm.
them. You see what I'm saying? We want them to change because it's an inconvenience for us. You're no longer fun. You now require work. I didn't sign up for work. I signed up to Kiki every time I call you on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
This is too much.
Mm,
So now I'll judge your shortcomings. When before, because they weren't bothering me in the beginning, I ignored them.
Mm-hmm.
mm, yeah, yeah. That's good.
That
That's
is
good.
good.
So we starting with the heat early. Cool.
Yeah.
Got it. Tone is set. Put my serious voice on. So I want to counter that. Look, no, look. So I want to add to that. It's like a yes and. It's a perfect yes and moment. And I'm gonna say yes and. I also see that it's not just about not wanting to put in the work, but it was as long as I had something to hang over your head, like maybe you weren't the friend that had it all together and I was always the one that had it together. And maybe you were the one that
Right.
I could like kind of like pit myself against, like, oh, I hang with this person, they trying to get it together, but as soon as I see you're getting together, I'm gonna root for you as long as you don't surpass me.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind
Yeah.
of like dealing with
Yeah.
this episode, and dealing with like seasons past. I kind of feel as though, honestly, I felt like Molly was okay with Issa being the screw up friend,
Mm-hmm.
being the one who did not have it together, and being the one who was always in need, and enabling her to be that person. Not to say that Issa wasn't holding down a job and holding down a man and holding down her own sense of wanting to grow and get out of her own insecurities for 4.5 seasons. But now when she finally tries to get something together and you see that you can deny her that, you know, you can just pull all the anchors, pull all of the safety nets and support away from her, and see that she's still going to be able to pull it off without you and without everyone else, essentially, and you don't like that. That's what I saw. I saw she was okay with Issa the screw up until Issa became the one that was getting on her own 2 feet. She was okay with enabling her until she saw that she no longer was needed by her.
Right.
I'm going to add to that because I actually agree. And I'm going to add another layer because Molly, I feel like 100% enabled Issa. I think Molly at one point has a savior complex. But I think on the flip side, how many of us know an Issa who it seems like they never can get anything established, going, and they always need a helping hand. And I think what happens sometimes is people can actually use that to their benefit and play the victim role. And
Mm-hmm.
so now I'm always in a place of needing. I actually don't want to necessarily grow. Not saying this is Issa, because we can tell that she is wanting to go better. But we've had friends before that where they have benefited more off of being a victim. And so if I benefit for all this long time, what benefit is there for me to grow when I can get what I need at a victim place level? There's another flip side to that.
That's
It
good.
is.
So, Erik, Danielle, where y'all
I'm just, I've been giving a lot of thought to the whole thing. I mean, honestly, just looking at it from the beginning of season one to where we are with yesterday's episode, I kind of felt like this was coming because there
at?
seemed to be so many, how can I say it? There were a lot of instances that we were shown where they would just kind of low key take jabs at each other and feel a kind of way, but just kind of ignore it and not really fully
Yeah.
discuss it.
Right.
So I knew this was
Right.
coming because they have poor communication. Neither of them really likes to hear the truth about themselves.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
if you're
Mm-hmm.
in a friendship like that, and if you feel that your friendship is one sided and you both feel that way, and neither of you are willing to actually have those difficult conversations and discuss it, then of course it's going to implode at some point. And on the opposite side of the coin, over time, friendships do change. I do believe that there are people that are sent into your lives for periods of time. Some are lifetimers, some are part timers, and some are short timers, and that's okay. But I do feel like them avoiding this conversation, you know, it to me just kind of shows how the dynamic of their friendship has changed because this is a huge elephant in the room for them, and they're both talking to their mutual friends about it, but not discussing it with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel like their friendship has just gravitated apart organically. I do feel like more
Mm-hmm.
conversations along the seasons would have helped it, but I mean, that happens, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Friendships do change over time. I think we are accustomed to trying to make friendships work all the time just because we have an extended period of time with people. But sometimes that friendship isn't really a friendship. It's just a mutualism sometimes, I can use you for this and get this benefit and vice versa. So, regardless of the length of
Mm-hmm.
time, once a friendship has run its course, sometimes it's okay to just let them go. You have to be able to evaluate that person's position in your life, and that person also has to know what their position is in your life, because if they think they're higher than what they actually are, then that's also a problem as well.
Come on.
I
So
agree.
yeah,
I agree.
so there's a
Yes.
lot of different
I
facets to that. I do just feel like the friendship has changed, and they at this point have to decide if it's worth salvaging.
So, guys, I agree with all of the statements being said. I think for me, when it came to Molly and Issa, Danny, I had a similar thought process of you that eventually it would
Hmm.
come to this. Um, Neither one of them likes
Correct.
accountability. And
if you know me, you know one of the things that I thrive on is accountability in my
Mm-hmm.
friendships. Um, I think also too, because I'm going to segue out of Molly and Issa, because what really was disheartening to see is a lot of the comments about their relationship. Because Molly and Issa, if I'm correct, they haven't just been friends for like 10 years. They've been friends since they were children. And so you see them finally having what is a pretty big blow up, and immediately people are like, let it go. Y'all are arguing. It's now no longer enjoyable
Mm-hmm.
to watch without ever a
Correct.
conversation being
Correct.
had.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I actually I was like, yo, this is bigger than Molly
Mm-hmm.
and Issa. What I'm really starting to see is how many people are
Yep.
quick to leave a relationship, not because it's painful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just like don't even have a conversation about it. You
Correct.
just leave.
Avoid it.
And so yes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm it's uncomfortable now, and so I'm just gonna leave, pack my bag, and go. And I'm like, so then at what point do you embrace accountability in your
Mm-hmm.
relationships? And so it makes me worry about a lot of individuals in today's society, because it lets me know if you can't handle a good friendship well, you can't be a good spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Oh wow.
ooh.
Hello.
Oh. We got Eric. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. All right. That was the moment.
As she says, you can't handle a spouse.
And
My
he popped
mind.
in.
I popped in. Hey, hold on.
With the
Let me
hello, hello.
let me stop you right there. Nah, I just no. I was on the other side. I was hearing everything and talking. I don't know what happened. Um, but I kept trying to interject. I don't know. But no, valuable points. So the way the writers they set it up though, they've been for this whole season alluding to it, like it was said earlier. So on the first episode, it had Issa on the couch and she was watching the news and then talking to somebody. I
Mm-hmm.
think she was talking to what, Nate?
She
Nathan.
was talking to
Yeah.
Nathan.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she was talking to
Yep.
Nate. She was
Nate.
talking to Nate. She was like, "Yeah, I don't ever with Molly no more," you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we already knew it was gonna be something. But the little nuggets in between, it seemed like what it seemed like is they kept referring to each other, or they kept trying to put each other in the in an old framework, in an old context. It seems like they're trying to grow and go different places. Issa trying to get her stuff together. Molly is trying to really be more serious about a relationship, and then they keep throwing little jabs that actually now hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
probably were cool at another stage of their friendship because they knew, yeah, both of them they ain't got it together, whatever.
Correct.
But now it's more serious because they're really trying. Like Molly's really trying to do her
Right.
best with this dude. You know what I'm saying? Like now Issa said the same things because if you remember last season, Issa took some jabs at Molly about how she is with men
Mm-hmm.
and with relationships.
Yeah.
Issa
And
been
Yes.
jabbing Molly since season 1, though.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
episode 1.
right.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
both of them
They've
have.
both been.
You
Yep.
know
They've
what I'm
been
saying?
jabbing each other since season 1.
Yes.
Yep.
They've
I
been
agree.
jabbing each other. And so
Mm-hmm.
at one point in their friendship, it was cool. But at this point, it's a little bit more personal because they really
Correct.
see it actually happening. Like they could. And so they probably are thinking, maybe I could if I didn't have this baggage of this friendship tying me to how I always have been. You know what I'm saying? And so they
Mm-hmm.
so they're
That's
like
good.
so they're like, okay,
Mm.
well, maybe this just is an old friendship because that's the question with everybody. Like all of us probably have been in a place or a space where it's like, when do you let it go, or when do you just work on it? When is it like this is the red flag
Mm-hmm.
to just dip, or when is it just like, oh, okay, well, nah, that's a small thing, we can work through it. Yeah, so I don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll be very good. I'll be honest, guys. Like, goodness,
it's just been really disheartening. I'm y'all. Last week, seeing all of the comments really messed me up. I have really been praying over just people's friendships in general. I don't think as a people, as a society, we know how to communicate well. I don't think we know how to communicate with each other effectively, and we tend to run off of emotions and are quick to sever ties because now we live in a culture of let me do whatever makes me feel good. And so if it doesn't make
Instant
me feel good,
gratification.
it
Yeah.
has to, yes, instant gratification. It's almost like we worship it. And so when it comes to Molly and Issa, some of the things I realized is I wanted to ask people, at what point do you decide that a person is your person and what does that mean for you? Because I feel like not every friendship is toxic.
Hate it.
I hate that
Hate
word.
it.
I
Hate
hate
it.
that word. We misuse
Man,
that word
please throw it in the
so
trash can.
much.
Right.
Put
I
it,
mean, the word can be useful at some exchange now. Wait a minute.
But some
People just
people
put it
throw
don't
in,
it
really know
around
what
Right.
loosely.
toxic is.
put it in there with self care too. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Jeez, not the self care.
I'm sorry. Y'all probably used that word a lot. All right, go ahead.
But we use the word toxic. We're quick to use. I'm cutting everybody off. How many people have you
No.
seen New Year's
Right.
It's
Eve
the cancel
cutting
culture that's
people
become such a
off?
It
big
is a
thing.
cancel culture.
What you
Yes.
say?
Cancel
It really
culture.
is. And so it's
Right.
funny because not this last year, but going into 2019, I literally posted on my Facebook. I said in 2019, instead of using the word toxic, I dare you to use the word of the year,
Ooh.
reconciliation. And what might that look like for you? And reconciliation doesn't always mean that we go back
Right.
to how it was. And I think that's what a lot of people misunderstand when I say they need to
Right.
have a conversation. Because through them having that conversation, they might decide, hey, we need to restructure how our friendship looks,
Right.
or we might need to come up with a different game plan of how our friendship looks. Maybe we need a couple of months apart. Like, let's actually go in the conversation and look to see what's working and what's not working about our relationship instead of this big blow up and then we just walk away. We don't ever address it. Because guess what? You're going to carry that hurt in your next friendship.
Yeah, very true.
Absolutely.
I totally agree, man. Because I think I was disgusted by the whole. Because I used to hear it a lot, especially in church settings. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially in church settings, man, you got to walk away. You got
Yes.
to. Some folks, you got to get out of there. Like, and to an extent, there
You know,
is.
then they use scripture.
And keep it
Toxic.
moving.
And keep it moving, right? So,
Right.
like to some extent, it might have validity. That's true. Okay, cool. Because I think that Issa and Lawrence should just like dust off their feet and keep it moving. Me personally, um, but but
Valid point.
people just don't know how to hold on. Kind of like what you were saying. But what's really funny to me, I thought about it. I was like, with all of this, sometimes people just got to go cut people off. What about when you're on the receiving end of that word, right? What if you're the one that needs to be cut off? You know what I'm saying? It ain't as easy to take that word. Yeah, it's like, oh shoot,
Right.
somebody got to walk away from me. It ain't just about me walking away from somebody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna use this time to just say, just like the Bible says, take the what is it? Knock the dust off your feet.
Yeah.
And my version, keep it moving. It also says that you're supposed to hold a mirror up to yourself.
True.
And so, like, just
Yeah.
like you were saying, what if you're on the receiving end? I'm not even gonna lie. I was at a place not too long ago where it seemed like a lot of my friendships became like cut off, and it was like, is it me? And then maturity told me that at some point it was me, because just like, I kind of can put myself where Issa is in this past episode. Like, I watched, the only reason why I say this is because I watched the the after the episode with her and the screenwriter, right? And they said Issa is tired of always extending an olive branch, and sometimes you just want to be apologized to, and sometimes you just don't want to be the bigger
What?
person. And I put myself in that situation before, and I just did not want to be the
Yo,
bigger person,
yo.
because I was like, if I'm always the one finding myself apologizing, then
Yeah.
why do I feel the need? And that became my default setting. At a default, like if something was to go down, I would go and be the one to apologize, and then I was like, hey, but you weren't wrong. And when I kind of like had to reevaluate where I was in certain relationships, it was like, well, am I the person that was the utility? Like friendships of utility. Am I the person who was only a friend until they didn't need me anymore? And maybe that's the place that I was in with that. And so is that the type of friendship that I really want to salvage?
Right.
And so that's the place I found myself in before.
Yeah.
And so I'm speaking from that place. Like I've been the person who's always extended the olive branch, always apologized, always or played the mediator between other friends, right? And then found myself like setting up the, let's go to Cheddar's, and don't tell you that the other person that you're having a problem with is going to be there, because I just really want to see. I just really want to see you guys be back together, be back to normal. And I looked at all of it. I'm like, I'm either the fixer, or I'm the olive branch extender, or I'm just exhausted. And when I became exhausted, I was like, all right, yeah, it was me. I was the enabler.
Yo.
So
What about the ending, right, of last night? I would y'all have walked in the restaurant? So the ending where I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm derailing us real quick, but you just talked about like walking in space and then like not telling the other person that they're gonna be there or whatever. So Issa walks to the restaurant and Molly's there. Would y'all have walked in? What y'all would have done?
The way
If I was
the way
hungry,
I
I'd
like
walked in.
food, I would have walked right on in. Matter of fact, I was sitting at the TV saying, "Go get your food, Issa. Go get your food, Issa."
Especially if she ordered.
Yes, I would have walked in because I mean
Right.
that's just me though. Like I don't tend to shy away from difficult conversations, as difficult as they may be. Like I recently, maybe about a year ago or so, one of my good friends, we encountered maybe 2 years ago, we encountered a really rough patch. We found that we weren't able to make time for each other. I felt like she was always too busy because she was doing a lot of things for work. Whenever we would schedule things, she wouldn't come, or she would have to reschedule, or she would come way, way, way late when it was time to leave. But then on the flip side, I would see her on social media that same night or the next day out and about with other people. So I started feeling, yeah, I know. So social media, number one, is the devil, okay? It makes you think all kind of things. Let's just get that out there.
yes.
So anyway, I finally called her and was like, listen, we need to address this elephant in the room. We need to have this conversation. So we had the conversation, and I definitely, expressed how I felt. She expressed how she felt. She thought that I was spending time with other people. I told her I felt that you were spending time with other people, but she conceded to where she was busy, but she told me where her intent was. So basically, we had our conversation. Things kind of went on. They went on the skids for a little bit, which is fine because again, you have to take time to rebuild, restructure, and decide where someone needs to go. And when it comes to, that cancel culture and cutting people off, before you can do something like that, you have to have introspection first. You got to self-examine, and you have to practice discernment as well. You need both of those things before you can really say, okay, you were not for me. So granted, I was in my feelings. I knew she was kind. I knew where her heart was. So we're slowly and gradually kind of rebuilding our friendship. And things are, we're taking it slow, but we're definitely enjoying the few times that we do spend together. We're not pressured to do this. We're not pressured to invite each other here. But when we do come together, we have a good time and it's pleasant. And I'm okay with that because that's how adults should compose themselves around other people. So I think I got off topic. I don't even remember what we were talking about.
But it was a glorious
good.
derail.
No, you said
I went way off the rails.
Yes.
answered it.
Heather said
It was.
glorious. Yes. It was
It was
good
good.
though.
My
It was
bad,
good.
y'all.
It sounds like you had your
No,
very
you
own
answered the
little
question
Molly and
definitely.
Issa situation.
Well, it
Like
wasn't quite a Molly and well,
verbatim. Yeah. Yes,
well,
ma'am. Well.
maybe, but not quite to that extent, I would
And
say.
everything might
But it was
Gotcha.
just more so our perceptions of each other's prioritization of our friendships and where we fell in line in each other's friendship hierarchy. So,
Gotcha.
you know, of
mm,
course,
Right.
people have a hierarchy. It's just natural. You have your super super close, you have your besties, you have your
Whew.
you bring up
lifelongers, and then you have your good friends, then you have your associates, and you have people you say hey to in passing. So we kind of had to figure out where
And
we were on that
sometimes one
hierarchy.
person can be all of
Some
them.
exactly right, exactly right. And then sometimes people don't know
Mm.
where they fall,
so
so that
Hmm.
also creates conflict when
let me
people think they're closer to you than they actually really are. So,
yes,
again, that's
come
where
on
those
now.
conversations have to come. You have to really let people know, hey, this is my crew right here. This is why you didn't get invited to my kickback and whatnot. Like, don't get in your
Mhm.
feelings. This is just what it is. So, I mean, it just is what it is.
I think Danielle, you bring up a really valid point, and Tanisha and I was just talking about this
Mm-hmm.
literally the other day. It There
Yes.
is levels in friendship, and for some reason in this society, we don't get that. It's
Mm-hmm.
either friend or best friend, and do not call me an associate. My ego will
Right.
not allow you to call me an associate. I want you to understand who I
mm-hmm.
am, what I bring to the table, honey. I'm a friend. And so the moment you
Mm-hmm.
call somebody an associate, it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
injured them.
It's a derogatory
Yes.
term. Mhm.
And so people, here's the other thing that I need people who listening, I need you to hear me. Just because somebody is nice to
Hello.
you does not mean they are your
Hello.
Come,
friend
that was a
or is
mama moment. That sounds
the
like something you
basis
would
for
say.
Hello.
a
Yes,
friendship.
indeed.
Everybody that's smiling in your face
So
ain't your
And
land.
friend.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And so I really see people there's like I'm like, well, why are y'all
That
friends?
right.
Well, she's so nice. That's it.
That's
That's
not the end
exactly.
all
That
be
shouldn't
all.
be on the list. It should
Th-
that
Right.
should be
yes,
automatic. I don't know why it's listed.
yes, like I expect you to be nice. That's like, oh, okay, hello, you seem nice, but there's other metrics to it, and so even with this whole friendship and how people are quick to say cut off Molly, I'm just like, first of all, how do you get your friends? Like, how do you actually even establish your friendships in the first place? Because if you were establishing them correctly, then I want to know if you're so quick to cut them off, did you ever love them in the
Mm-hmm.
first place?
So with
Mm-hmm.
Molly, that whole situation, what, 2 episodes ago now, or 1 episode ago, whatever, I think for Molly, she seriously overreacted, and I think the visceral reaction that we saw from what happened at the block party came out of emotion, just like everybody said. In the beginning, we
Yes.
we kind of like really do react off of emotion first, and not so much
Mm-hmm.
off of thought and introspection. But Molly was dead wrong. Um,
Oh, listen, if
like a
she would
hundred
No,
have
she's
rolled
percent
up
one
wrong
on
hundred
me the
percent
for
way
wrong.
how
she
she
rolled
hundred
up
percent
on
wrong.
Issa,
Right. And right.
girl,
It was so
Child.
wrong. And it
ooh,
was kind of
child.
like, oh, she needs to be canceled. And I know y'all hate that word, but at the same time it was like, no, that night I don't think they should have pulled them apart and let them continue to be apart. I think they should have gotten them out of the public eye and circled back and said,
Yeah.
we're going to so and so's house, or we're going to the nearest
To finish
whatever,
it.
and we're going to have this conversation here, because the time that it took to allow that to languish without even confronting it is now where you see this pass. And I don't think I'm gonna put it out there. I don't think they're gonna get back to being close, if at all,
Mm-mm.
friends in this
I don't think
season
I
so.
don't.
at
Yeah,
all. I don't think
probably
it
not.
100%. I believe next season we're going to see them living two
I think
separate
so
lives,
too.
and it's going to be very
Mm-hmm.
awkward for a minute until they
Yeah.
kind of like get back connected to one another, because they're growing right now and they're growing
Mm-hmm.
apart, and neither one of them
Yep.
can take it.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So I can answer Eric's question. Would I have walked in to get my
Yes.
Yes.
Man,
what was it,
listen,
Ethiopian?
that
Yeah.
girl Watt. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, the Tanisha I am, look, I know the Tanisha I am
Okay.
now, I would have walked in.
Okay.
Who I am right now, I would
Mm-hmm.
have, because now I
Okay.
have language for what I want to say. The Tanisha I was 3
Gotcha.
years
Gotcha.
ago would have did what Issa did.
Mm.
I don't like confrontation now, but as I am growing and maturing, not only spiritually, but just as a person, I now have
Mm-hmm.
language for those conversations. And these past 3 years have been God really building me up
Mm-hmm.
in my confidence with my relationships with people to understand the importance and the value of
Mm-hmm.
having the language for those
Mm-hmm.
confrontations, because you're
Absolutely.
gonna have them in any relationship, not just friendships, your coworkers, your boss, your manager, and your spouse. So you have to know what language to use in order to know how to communicate. I know we always say, people don't know how to communicate, and
Mm-hmm.
it's because they lack the language to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So, in this day and age, we'll use the excuse of, well, I never really saw a friendship, um, or I never really saw a marriage. But it is 2020, and you can do your Googles, and there are tons of
Yes.
books and free classes and seminars and webinars and things that you can do to grow to
Mm-hmm.
know that language that you need. I know the first book that I read when I was learning was The People Factor
Oh,
by Van
yeah,
Meter.
that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. So
Mm.
good.
It's an amazing
Okay.
book. Amazing. And it really has a lot of introspection to it, because I saw a lot of myself in certain situations where I would avoid, or I would tiptoe, or I would walk on eggshells with certain friends because I didn't want them to be upset with me, or I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to ruffle any feathers. And then there were other friends who I felt that I could,
Mm-hmm.
so I did it a lot,
Mm-hmm.
trying to overcompensate for the
So
times
you
where I
told
was
everybody how you
quiet.
felt. First of all,
Yeah, it
and
just kind
another
of
thing.
depended on who you were. So but I didn't have a balance. I didn't have a balance at all. So that situation between
Molly.
Issa
Mm-hmm.
Molly.
and Lord Jesus, Molly, I definitely would not have walked in, because you don't want to be hurt. You don't know how you're gonna come off. You don't know where the conversation is gonna go. But there is fear there
Mm-hmm.
that this person will no longer be my
Yeah.
friend. As much as Issa wants to try to move on, which that was a whole episode, she
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
does not want to
Correct.
not be friends with Molly.
No.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she broke down with her mother. She doesn't. She can try to play cool, where I'm good, where I can just do me. No, you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be rejected.
Yeah.
So I definitely would not have. But again, now that I have the language for that conversation and willing to have that conversation and place that person where they need to be, respectfully so,
Mm-hmm.
I would have definitely had that conversation then. I don't know, we had it right there at the restaurant,
Right.
but
Right.
Mm-hmm.
because you never know how somebody's gonna come off. But it would have been a
Mm-hmm.
conversation. You might as well. That was fate.
And I.
I was
Oh,
about to
go ahead,
say
Heather.
we saw you're exactly correct, because we also saw that she avoided that conversation the night of Thanksgiving. She was at the same
Yes.
exchange, and
Right.
Mm.
I think you are
Mm-hmm.
absolutely correct when you said that she does not want to be friends with her. She just probably doesn't know what to say or how to go about doing it, because she can't keep avoiding it. It's kind of like when
Right.
they say you keep sweeping the little dust under the rug, and pretty soon you'll have that big old mountain of things that you're just trying to put a blanket over, and it's like you see it's in the middle of the floor. I think we've been seeing Issa sweep things under the rug, and now last night when she had the perfect opportunity to address it, she did what she normally does. So I believe that's what made her break down with her mom, because she's just trying to like all day in that episode you saw her mulling through her mind about the
Mm-hmm.
words that Molly said to her, that she's a user, that she's this, and
Yes.
Molly is like her Jiminy Cricket in that essence. Like and she just could not get
Right.
with it. So she kept missing opportunities, and I'm agreeing with you like wholeheartedly. She does not know the language. She does not know how to like really confront what what it is, and she does not want the outcome. She already knows what it is, like already.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm gonna piggyback off of that. So Erik, to answer your question, I'm similar like Tanisha. Maybe I would say 5 years ago, I probably would have walked out like Lisa. Now I'm okay with walking in and not having the conversation with you. But what people don't understand is you don't have to have a conversation in that moment, but you can tell someone, hey,
Correct.
I'm not ready to have a conversation, and
Absolutely.
we can set up a time for us to have one. And I think people have to get to a place, one, of confidence with themselves to know
Right.
that they have that right to say that. Like
Right.
just in seeing you
Right.
doesn't
Right.
mean that a conversation has to be had, but I can still be in the same space with you, do what I need to do, let you know what I need to let you know, and we have a conversation later. Right now, who I want to give a shout out
Yes.
to is Kelly, because what I love is seeing my mutual friend call back to back to back to
Yeah.
say, y'all need to handle this. And I can speak to that because when I literally watched that episode, I immediately looked at it and then I called my line sister and I said, yo, this episode takes me back to us. We literally had our own Molly and Issa moment, almost exactly like that in college on her birthday. And people had to take us out of public, take us to a private room, and we talked about it, hashed it out, and it didn't wasn't resolved that night. But because we had people that loved the both of us, they
Right.
made us go in a room and talk to each other, and we actually came out maybe not in the mindset of the friendship as it was before, but to this day we're calling each other, we're talking to each other. That's one of my closest. She's in my bubble for life. But it took people outside of us, and it's going to take people outside of Molly and Issa because, quite frankly, both of them, their
Mm-hmm.
ego and pride
Mm-hmm.
is really bruised right now. So I think sometimes we have to check the people around us to say, is there anyone that loves both of us enough to force us and be like, are you talking to each other? Because I
Correct.
need that conversation to happen ASAP. Like, I'm not waiting on the two of you
Mm-hmm.
to figure out when y'all gonna have this. I'm telling you, it needs to
Mm-hmm.
happen, and it needs to happen immediately.
Correct.
Like,
Expeditiously.
Expeditious.
right.
Yeah.
So shout out to you, Kelly. Shout
Who
out
I
to
think
you.
is the funniest one on there, man. Kelly is
I love
funny.
her. She's
Kelly
definitely
is
my
freaking
favorite.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes.
When she said, "Is that a woman?" Oh, that's a woman.
And she's a writer. Like she started as being like a temporary role, and she's like
Wow.
forever in
Okay,
the
I didn't
scene
know
Yes.
now.
that.
It
Okay,
wouldn't be the same without her now.
man,
Yes.
she's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So
Hmm.
I have a question. Um, Given what was going on, and I saw this as a comment on a thread that I was following, and I think it may have been one of you guys. It was something along the lines of, "Have you ever been a friend to someone and you realize that no? Have you ever been someone's friend and you realize they weren't your friend?"
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, that you
Yes.
posted it, or
Oh,
No.
yes,
Yes.
that I have.
Yes to the question.
I'm sorry. We are always going to be in positions where that's going to happen. There's another book that I'm reading. Yeah, I'm a book person. Sorry. There's another book that I'm reading, by Dr.
Mhm.
Darius Daniels,
Yes.
and it's called Relational Intelligence. And he basically breaks down all relationships, not just friendships. Um, but he doesn't. He's mainly dealing about friendships, but you can put them in all positions. Where he basically comes from a biblical standpoint of how you're supposed to be choosing those relationships and how you should categorize them and break them down. And those people who you are their friend but they are not yours, they will
Mm-hmm.
be
Ooh.
considered your assignments.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we don't
Mm-hmm.
like that word the same way we don't like associate. But those are
Mhm.
people who your job is to pour into
Yes.
them because there is something in you that they need.
Yes.
So
You
he
hear that?
Yes.
equates them to, and I hate to say this,
Yes.
he equates them to
What?
It's
parasites,
true. I know
but
where you're
not
going with this.
in, I
Yes.
know, but not in, not in the
Mhm.
negative term that you would think. Just
I
biologically,
Mm-hmm.
actually.
that's what they are. They
Mhm.
can be draining at times. They're a lot at times, but you
Yes.
can handle
I
it if it
have.
is a God given
Ooh,
assignment.
yes.
You are supposed to be helping them and pouring into them and uplifting them, and then you go to
For your
God
refill. Oh yes,
for
girl.
your
Yeah.
refilling, not them. They don't know how to
Mm.
refill you. They haven't learned that yet. Your job is to help build them in
Mm.
whatever area that they've
This
been
is
placed as your
good.
assignment. So, yes, I have had people who
Mhm.
were not my friend, but I was their friend. And it took a minute for me to really realize that. It was definitely God letting me know,
Mhm.
hey, this person can't do that for you.
Yeah.
You can do this for them, but they can't do that for you. And he had to show me,
Right.
no,
That's
literally,
good.
they don't know how to do this.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't understand. If they see me doing it, how don't they? And then he would just reveal certain things to me to say, see,
Mhm.
when they
Mhm.
did this, this meant this, and this is why this. So I had to understand in that moment, oh,
Mhm.
okay, they don't know how to be my friend. So I would lean on
That's
God to
good.
figure out, okay, when am I supposed to do this? Should I lend them this amount of money? Should I help them here? Instead of
Yes.
just
Mm.
doing it
That's
because,
good.
well,
I have
they
a
need help.
friend.
Whew. What are these
I
books you
know,
say?
right?
Books? What?
You don't
You're.
want to be in those
If you
positions.
look in my library, everything in my book library has everything to do with like race and politics. I probably need
Some relationship books.
That is so true,
right.
though. Like, that speaks almost verbatim to a friendship that I have to this day. This person is one of my very best friends now. But, you know, about 13 years ago, I was even talking to my husband. I said, why am I friends with this girl? I really don't feel her like this, but she won't go away. She won't go away. I can't get rid of her. What do I do? Should I just cut her off? And Brandon said, my husband's name is Brandon. My husband, he said, don't cut her off. It'll just cause more of a mess. Don't cut her off. So, with my own spiritual, maturing and growing, and through that process, I learned that exact thing, that I was there to help her along her path to maturity and spirituality and learning how to be a better person in general. And I was there to show her that. So, by virtue of me being there, even though she annoyed me to the nth degree years ago, she has grown and transformed so much. Like, we are literally we're
That's
like some of the
beautiful.
bestest friends today now. So, imagine where things would be. Like, imagine I would have missed out on her had I cut her off back then.
hmm Right.
And now I have this
Yeah,
this
had
this
you cut out,
jewel.
yeah.
I mean, it
Hmm.
took some work, but I had to polish
Had to
her.
polish her.
Iron sharpens iron. So
Yes.
yeah, I definitely felt that one because I've literally lived that. So yes, it's very true. Some people are your assignment.
And so the links to these
Hmm.
books, right? Will you drop them in the podcast as well? Just text me. Look, I have to whisper.
Yes.
Yes.
'Cause- well, there's another book because I knew T was going to talk about those two, but the third book that's really good for anybody who's dealing with
Hmm.
relationship is Boundaries.
Hmm.
And I don't
Yes, that's a
know
good book.
if anybody has ever read that, but I remember when I read that years ago, it gave me language to understand. A lot
Hmm.
of times we think of boundaries as walls, and that book really
Hmm.
taught you
Yep.
that no, they're fences with gates. And you can have as many circles around you. And so sometimes if you had like going back to Issa and Molly, if they had the conversation, Issa and Molly might find, okay, you might not no longer need to be in this inner circle. I might need to put you
Hmm.
out a couple of circles for just a couple of seasons. Because with those gates, I can determine if I let you out, and I can also determine when I let you back in.
Right.
And so that's something else that I feel like people don't understand. But I am learning too.
Hmm.
People don't like boundaries. They think it's a bad thing. And I'm just like,
the more boundaries you put in place,
Mhm.
you give language and teach
Mhm.
people how to treat you
Yes.
and what you're willing to accept. On the flip side of that, you have to be willing to accept that they
Mhm.
may not respect your
Absolutely. I
boundaries,
tell my
That's
but
patients
fine
all the
too.
time that they have to set their boundaries, and I don't care who it's with. Set boundaries with your coworkers, set boundaries with your family, set boundaries with your friends. In all things, you should have your boundaries set. And
Mm.
like you said, pay attention to if they're
mm-hmm.
willing to respect your boundaries or not.
Mm-hmm. Especially boundaries
Ooh,
within
woo, that's a
families, but
whole
that's a
nother topic
topic
for
for
a
another
whole
day.
nother day.
Woo.
Oh Lord.
Oh, it's that time already?
Oh
It's been
wow,
an hour and 6 minutes.
a
Yes,
good hour and
ma'am.
6 minutes.
It's been awesome.
It really has been a good hour
Yes,
and six
Hmm.
minutes.
this has been amazing.
Oh, I thought you
Um,
were leading. Oh, I thought
Nobody got
you
any
were
final
saying
thoughts?
final thought, and then I thought you were going to continue. I didn't know you were opening the floor for final thought.
Uh, no, final thoughts.
Message.
This is our portion
I
of the
love it.
message.
message.
That's funny.
So we got messages for you, fam. Come on. So I'm opening the floor up.
I think that I don't. I think that someone else should go first, namely the only man, Eric,
Well, thank you.
because I really want to know if
Well,
this.
thank
Man,
you.
I
she
really
put you
want to
on
know if
blast.
this is no, like legit. If the shoe was on another foot, right on the other foot, and it was Lawrence and what is his
Oh, what's
friend's
his
name?
name? The funny one. I
He's
can't remember.
hilarious.
Chad.
Yeah,
Chad.
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 Oh,
Chad.
Chad.
If it
Oh
was
yeah.
Lawrence and Chad, right, and you could
Yes.
relate to it more. Not saying that you can't relate to like a Molly and Issa situation, but from a male perspective, do you think this would have
Not the way it did.
blown up the way it
Nah,
did?
because I don't even know if like, because we didn't get to this. I think I wanted to ask it. Like, was that a major offense? Was
oh, come
that
on. We
was Issa wrong?
It was trivial at best, but it was not a major offense.
I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't think
no,
it
it
was a
was not
big.
major
I
at
didn't
all.
think it was
wait.
a huge deal. Like I didn't say. So the offense,
Which what?
the offense
Wait,
that I'm talking
I
about
am
is
so
her
confused. What
trying to
part was?
Emailing.
secure.
Yeah.
Yeah, she went to Nate to try to
Mm-hmm.
secure an act for her show because she
Yeah.
needed to be bailed out, and Nate helped her out, but she
Mm-hmm.
felt, and so Molly felt like, oh, you went behind my back after I told you.
You gotta
Yeah,
talk to me
but
before you
Right.
get to my
I'm like,
mate.
wait, but she,
So this is where
Mm-hmm.
I go back to boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a major offense? Absolutely not. Come on, Molly. You met
Mm-hmm.
right,
Andrew
Mm-hmm.
through
And
Issa, who met
and you
right,
offered
through.
him
Mm-hmm.
up to
So
her.
she had another
She
avenue
she also
to
offered him
connect.
as a
exactly,
resource in the
Mm-hmm.
first
exactly,
episode of this
exactly,
season.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
She sure did.
She sure did. So my issue, and that wasn't with Issa. Molly just used that as a scapegoat. My issue was with Molly because Molly, when you were on the phone with Issa saying that you didn't want to ask Andrew, you did not set all of the
Hey,
Correct.
parameters of your
okay,
own
yeah,
Correct.
boundaries
that's
around your
good.
relationship with your man, and you expected your
Correct.
friends'
Mm-hmm.
boundaries to be in relation to your man. So because you didn't set that, you
Mm-hmm.
can't get upset with her because
Exactly.
she
Mm-hmm.
had another way of talking to him that didn't
Mm-hmm.
include you.
Yeah,
She
so
did you and kept you
right.
out
I
of
don't
it.
think it
As you
escalated
asked
like
her
that. Like,
to.
hey, you need a plug? Hey, go ahead.
Right. Right.
No,
Simple.
it was very simple. I feel like it was very simple. So it was blown out of proportion. I don't think it would have gotten to that point. I think guys maybe. I think we might fight a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But not saying that things that our friends do don't offend us. Like, nah, we do have uh, times where we sidestep each other. Um, but at the end of the day, that's what develops a friendship. It's some resistance. It's some challenges. It's
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have some disagreements and fights and arguments with any relationships. That's actually what makes it better, stronger. you can only test the validity or the strength of a friendship by how strong it is in adversity. You know what
Oh,
I'm
you better
saying?
preach.
The the
Mm-hmm.
Bi- the the Bible even
That's
Yes,
says
true.
come
that
on.
friends
I
love
need
at
Come on,
help
all
sir.
with
times
that.
and brothers are there in times of adversity. So that's
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the ministry of a
Proverbs
friend. A friend is a
17:7.
ministry. But it comes by some testing and some hard times. But it is what
Mm-hmm.
it is. I don't think it's the end for Issa and Molly because we saw that they had, in
No.
past seasons they've fallen out. Even when it came to Issa and Lawrence breaking up, but when Issa
Mm-hmm.
was sad and Lawrence was like, okay, well, I think I'm gonna go to the house, and they was all the way they was like in Florida or something. Well, I don't know where they was, but you see Molly drove her all the way back
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
that was her
Mm-hmm.
friend, even though they was bad with each other, So
Mm-hmm.
nah, it's all good. They'll be all right.
Mhm.
They'll be fine, but I don't think it's gonna be this
It might
season
take a
though,
little
honey.
time. I think that's
No,
what you and my
Joe.
wife was saying as well. Like,
Yeah.
nah. So, because my wife was like, nah, I wouldn't have went in there either. I wouldn't have went in the shop, but
Mm-hmm.
it was only 2 days after. So, yeah, give it a little time. Yeah, you're right. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yep.
So those are
Good
my
stuff.
final thoughts.
Good stuff.
yeah.
Good stuff. Whose turn is it?
Good.
Okay, I'll go. So this is Danny.
Whoever
So
wants to
my
go.
final thought, I don't get me to lying which scripture and verse it is, but it's one of my favorite scriptures I use as it pertains to friendships, and it is as follows: He who desires friends should present himself as friendly.
Friendly. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
Mm.
when it comes to how I interact with
Mhm.
others, I definitely believe in treating others the way I want to be treated. So that includes, enforcing your boundaries,
Mm.
telling your hard no's and, just setting the tone for the things that you have in expectation and being respectful communication with one another, like knowing when it's appropriate to speak on an issue y'all are having when it's not appropriate. Like my colleague and I that I had the little mini tiff with, like we went to a frozen yogurt shop and had frozen yogurt and talked about our beef. So you just have to know the time and the place so that your words can be
Mm.
respectful so that they can actually be heard and received by the other person. You have to be in a mindset to be able to receive what someone else is saying. If you're upset, if you're heated, no one's going to hear a word you're saying. So that's my final thought.
That's
Nice.
dope. Especially when you said
Mm-hmm.
y'all had
Yep,
beef and
we
ice
sure
cream.
did with the gummy
Um,
bears on top, girl.
we had
Mm-hmm.
beef and ice cream.
We sure did.
you talked about your beef over ice cream. Um, but for me, my final thought is this: I had to do a lot of introspection, as I said earlier. Just looking at a lot of my friendships, and one thing that came out of that time is that I really needed to make sure that my vertical relationship with God was okay, and that I was, really getting poured into before I could work
Mm-hmm.
on my horizontal relationships with other people. And the reason why that was so important is because it's like there, I firmly believe that if God is searching my heart, God knows everything that I want to say, how I really feel about a situation. And if I prayed about it and I received my peace and my
Mm-hmm.
solace about it, then I can move forward and take the same, that same energy, like we people like to say, and use that towards different situations in my life, inclusive of friendships and relationships with other people. And another thing that I learned is if I don't know how to come correct with God, I won't know how to come correct with anybody
Okay.
else. And when I pray, I always say,
Mm.
Lord, if I'm honest and you already know, then I have to be honest and say this. And I take that same stance when it comes to dealing with friendships and relationships with other people. So um, that's what really helped me grow my friendships. That's what really helped me realize that some people, you just have to pray for them and keep it moving. Other people, you really have to put intentionality and focus in your prayer life to pray and ask God how you deal with a
Yeah.
certain situation or a certain person before you dishonor yourself and the relationship
Amen.
that you have with God. So
Yeah.
with Molly and
Yeah.
Issa, or if it was me and my best friend, or just me and my sisters or brothers, whatever, I know that my relationship with them is contingent upon the close relationship that I have with God. So if I ain't really prayed about it, I'm really not gonna be 100 with them.
Yeah.
Point blank. Period.
Mm.
Mm,
Amen.
amen. My final thought, it might be a little bit of a devil's advocate, but I know we're talking about they all need to have a conversation. And I like where you went with that, Heather, about you praying and getting your relationship with God right first. I would also say pray about that conversation, because sometimes God does not want you to necessarily have a
Mm.
conversation because there's work that He's doing on
I
the other
like
part
Oh,
with
that.
that person. I have had
I
a
like that too.
friendship end. Yeah, I've had a friendship end very abruptly without conversation, and it hurt me a lot. And God was like, "There's work that I'm doing,
Mm.
so there's no need to try to have a conversation with that person." There may be reconciliation down the line, and I've had multiple dreams that we did reconcile, but He said, "Right now, and in that moment, is not the time to have the
Mm-hmm.
conversation." He said, because all you're going to do is defend yourself when you didn't necessarily do anything wrong. And He was like, "You're just hurt because it ended, but I'm doing something great in the both of you, and it's going to be
Yeah.
separate." So it was a very hard time, and it was very hurtful. So it ended without conversation, but I am understanding that sometimes He doesn't want you to have it at that moment. Maybe that person is not going to be receptive. Maybe they don't see both sides, or maybe their own relationship with Christ is not where it needs to be. So you're coming back being a friend is not really going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So then, in this essence, you're kind of growing apart because
Mm-hmm.
one person is growing and one person is refusing to grow. So a lot of things go into that conversation. So you really need to be prayerful as to where you should go next. I know a lot of times that's the first thing we want to do,
I wouldn't
especially if,
say
as we're like you,
confrontation.
Danielle, when you don't mind confrontation. We have to
Well,
be
that
prayerful.
has a connotation
Well, I don't
to
mean.
it.
I mean,
I,
here's
I
the thing
don't
that's bad,
mind discussing difficult
and I don't
topics.
mean it's
Mm-hmm.
yes topics, but sometimes you have to make sure. First off,
Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to be handled.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, maybe there are things that He's doing with that person, and He doesn't
Correct.
necessarily want you to have the conversation
Exactly.
Because
now
they won't
or
be
yet.
receptive.
It
Mm-hmm.
could be weeks later. It
Mm-hmm.
exactly. It could be weeks
Absolutely.
later. It could
I
be
definitely
months
agree.
later. We don't know. So I would definitely say definitely be prayerful about where you need to go next, and just go with God's leading. And I would love to see them get back together. I hope they do.
Mm-hmm.
But like you guys said, it will more than likely be another season from now, and we'll see how they each grow
Yes.
and mature on their own, and then get
Mm-hmm.
back together and see where that goes.
Nice. My final thought. So it's a blending of the two. A few years ago, I could not stand confrontation. I did not want it. These years, I'm actually okay with it. I understand the need and necessity for having difficult and hard conversations, even if you don't feel like it. Conversations have to be had. At the same
Right.
time, because of where I'm at with my relationship and
Correct.
God, I literally ask him for strategy for everything,
Mm-hmm.
including friendship. And so
Right.
I've been in a season where I've been desiring to have conversations, similar to Tanisha, but God has literally let me know not yet, because there are some things I'm doing in the two of you. There's a certain time that I want you to have the conversation. And so realizing God literally, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
believe
Mm-hmm.
nothing else, understand that He orchestrates
Everything.
everything. Um, Everything. I mean, if you can have a
Mm-hmm.
conversation, but if you don't have it at the
Yep.
right time, in the right moment, with the right mind frames brought to the
Mm-hmm.
table, they'll just be words falling on deaf ears.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Right.
people's hearts can literally
A
be made
noisy
of
gong
stone.
or a clanging
And
cymbal. There it is.
there you have it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you have to pray, God, is even my heart made of stone right now, or have you given me a heart of flesh to be receptive of what's going on? Sometimes God wants to deal with you, and he has with me even been like, I want to deal with your own emotions and feelings about situations.
True.
So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes separation is not always a bad thing. um so be discerning as to when God wants you to have conversations and how he wants you to have them. I also tell you
Mm-hmm.
to be discerning on what friendships he wants you to have.
Right.
What
Correct.
relationships he's bringing to you, and when he is severing one. Is the other thing. I also agree. Molly and Issa will be back at it. You can tell it. But it will not be this season. And I actually think the way Issa is writing this is
Mm-hmm.
beautifully done for a cancel culture that we're in.
Oh,
So I'm excited to see not the end of this
that's a
season.
whole
I'm
word.
excited to see next
Oh,
season when she goes into
Yes.
reconciliation. I think that's going to be. I think that's going to shock a lot of people, and they're not going to like it. I can already see that. But the last thing that I want to leave for our listeners is actually a couple of resources. If you're struggling with relationships, we've talked about 3 different books. We've talked about boundaries. We've talked about The People Factor by Van Moody, and we've talked about Relational Intelligence by Darius Daniels. Please go get those books, because when what they're talking about may seem basic, but when you read them, it's not. Sometimes we know things that we don't do.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know that, but you don't do them, and so you don't get the benefit of them and everything. And then the last thing that I'm going to give you as a resource isn't even a book; it's a series. And I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
any of you on here listen to Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Stevenson. If you don't, prepare your wigs to be snatched. Okay. But his whole
Oh yeah, that was
summer
cool.
body series from last year, all
Yeah,
he
that was a
is
good one.
talking about is relationships. And he is not just talking about
Mm-hmm.
your spousal relationships, he's talking about all manners.
All of them.
I truly look at any type of relationship as a soul tie. We tend to think of soul ties as
Nope.
just you
Mm-hmm.
and your significant other, but you can have a
You
You
soul
can
can
tie
have
have
a
a
with your
soul
soul
tie
tied
spouse,
to
to
a
a relative
place.
or a parent.
Yes, you can.
and
Mm-hmm.
you can,
Mm-hmm.
yes, and
Yes, you
That's
can.
true too.
there
Mm-hmm.
you
Yep.
have it,
Yes.
and everything, and they can be
Sure
good
can.
and bad and
Yep.
everything. If you read about Jonathan and David, what is the ultimate conversation about friendship in the Bible? Because the Bible talks about friendship all throughout it. It basically is a whole book on how to deal
And
with
yes.
relationships, whether friendships or parenting or marriage relationships. The whole Bible is just talking about relationships and stuff. But Jonathan and David is
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a friend that sticks closer
Mm-hmm.
than a brother and everything. And so when you think about friendships, think of one, go back to the word, see what it's talking and giving you strategy to deal with your own relationships. Get those books, listen to that series, and then go and listen to Michael Todd's series on relationship goals. I'm serious. Your life will be blessed, and you will definitely look at how you engage and even begin all types of relationships in your life. So
Love
those are
it.
my thoughts on it. I hope that helps somebody. So,
Yeah.
well, guys, thank you for coming on. If you want to share, where can our listeners find you? You don't have to, but if you would like to share, can they find you? You can go ahead, do your shout out, and just thank you for your time. We love
Thank you for
you,
inviting me. I
and
feel so
yeah,
special.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
This is great.
This is so
Mm-hmm.
super, super, super
yeah,
dope. I appreciate the
yeah,
invite.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's
When
good
we gonna
stuff.
talk about Lawrence and Issa though?
amazing conversation.
Yeah.
There is nothing
Oh
to talk
Lord.
Okay,
about.
we'll put that one on the list.
That's a good one.
Right.
Woo-wee.
I
Yeah,
don't think they're
nah, I
gonna
don't think
circle
so either.
back, but that's just me.
I don't think they need to. Right.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
That might be a
We'll find
situationship.
out.
I think you better let it go.
Dum 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 dum.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, guys, you can find me, Crystal, on Crystal Charmaine on Facebook, and I am Crystal Charmaine on IG.
And you guys can follow me on Facebook is Tanisha Williams and
We
Instagram
have to
is
put our
Styles
stuff
by
out there.
Tanisha J.
Y'all go first. Okay.
No, ma'am, you do
No,
not.
you do not.
Mm.
You do
You
not.
don't.
No.
All right.
All right, guys. Until next time,
Bye.
thank you for listening to She Labs, and be blessed.
Bye.
Thanks again for listening. We hope that you were blessed by today's discussion. To keep up with the latest on the She Laughs podcast, be sure to subscribe on most major streaming platforms. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. If you feel led to donate, please send donations to paypal.me/She Laughs. And don't forget to send us your questions as well. We'd love to hear from you. As always, stay blessed.